Hello everyone and welcome to another development log. Before we get started, I would like to show off some more artwork that is coming down the line for the game. Now this devlog took a bit of time to make, just because the problem that I had to tackle was so difficult and took such a long time to do. Thankfully though, I feel like I have accomplished what I set out to do, which was to make crew cards more engaging. This is how I did it. So despite the fact that in the last video I felt like I had a good understanding of what a crew card needed to be, I didn't really fully grasp the complexity of the situation. And that is because I didn't set a target audience for the game before I started designing it. Like most designers, I get struck with inspiration occasionally, but when I do get struck with inspiration, I get struck with a lot of force. That means that oftentimes I run headfirst into designing a game because of how passionate I get about the project. However, with Space Game, it took taking that important step back for me to realise that I had to properly identify who this game is actually for and what makes them tick. For this, I used the 4 keys to fun, as well as profiling my playtesters by using Bartel's taxonomy of player types. 4 keys to fun was especially useful because it allowed me to already see where my game sort of sits in the grouping of actions and emotions that define players. Now there are 4 types of players according to the 4 keys to fun matrix: hard fun, easy fun, serious fun, and social fun. Now of course there are crossovers between all these distinctions, but Space Game fits nicely into hard fun. And from the get-go, my design philosophy already slotted into kind of the emotional loop that hard fun games have. Frustration, elation, and relief. I want players to feel frustrated with their hand, but use skill and ambition to overcome these challenges, and then to feel relief after the fact. However, the issue was that crew cards didn't really do that. They didn't give the player that tool they needed to overcome these difficult challenges. They just helped them a tiny bit in unimpactful ways. That's why I decided to redo the crew cards altogether and focus heavily on 4 different ways that players can overcome challenges in the game. So there are 4 types. There's the advisor, the general, the trader, and the navigator. Now for the advisor, one of the core challenges of the game is relevant to the deck building and hand management mechanics. Specifically crafting a deck and a hand that synergizes. This is important for 2 reasons: to be more efficient with fuel and to avoid getting minus points via not completing trade route cards. So this means that there is a positive gain and a negative avoidance mechanic relating to these trade route cards. What the advisor crew card ability does is it helps the player avoid negative aspects of hand management by removing trade route cards you aren't sure you want to complete, and it allows you to positively affect your hand by adding cards from your deck into your hand that might be easier to complete. Next we have the general. One of the challenges in Space Game in terms of the competitive aspect, which is one of the main aspects of the game that influences the enjoyment of the core target audience, is getting more points than your opponent. The general allows you to negatively affect other players by moving them off course. This makes it harder for other players to complete their trade routes, thus giving the player that used the general card a better chance of winning. The general can also help you avoid the negative effects by protecting you from other generals, improving your chances of winning. Next we have the trader. One of the challenges for traveling between planets, thus completing trade routes, is the amount of resources you have. This obviously includes fuel, but metal and food can help you gain traders, which are a great way to overcome this challenge. Traders allow you to swap 1 resource for 2 resources of another type, which allows players a bit of help when overcoming the resource management challenge of the game. Finally, we have the navigator. The main challenge that affects all players, regardless of the amount of resources or other crew cards that they might have, is that they only have 3 turns to complete all their trade routes, or they will take minus points if they don't complete them. The navigator gives you an additional marker to say that you've been to another planet, which counts as completing trade routes, that you can place up to 3 planets away. If you want to go for a high level play and complete a couple of really difficult trade routes at once, then it is essential for you to get a navigator for you to overcome these challenges. Now, players have really responded well in testing. Not only did they want to use the crew cards, but they also want to buy them as well, which was a big hurdle in previous iterations. With the addition of these new crew cards, additional mechanics to note are food and breeding. Food is a new type of resource used to draw crew cards from your specific crew card deck into your hand. So whenever you buy crew cards, they don't go straight into your hand and they don't go into like a separate pool, they go into a crew card deck which you have. Now this is really interesting because it means that there is a chance your plan might fail if you draw a crew card into your hand that isn't the crew member you wanted. So say you thought that up next you were going to get a navigator. Well, when you draw it, you might get an advisor instead. And you can only do this a finite number of times as well because, well, it just depends on how many resources you have when it comes to food. Next we have breeding. Now breeding is a way to get more expensive crew cards quickly by playing 2 crew cards of the same race, putting them to the bottom of the crew card deck, and then selecting a crew card from the pool of the same race for free. So yeah, that's been me. Whilst I've been working on that, I've also been working on an Unreal Engine 4 card game template that can help people, and myself, get started quicker with making digital card games. And I've also been working on a war game for my dissertation at uni as well. And again, I've been designing a first-person shooting deck builder game, which is a video game that I'm working with a bunch of people on my game design course. And I'm going to be making that over the next year. So I've been doing a heck of a lot, and that's probably one of the reasons why it took me over a month to get just this one mechanic, the crew card mechanic, down. And I feel like now I'm getting consistent enjoyment from my playtesters, so it's going well. So I'm glad you stuck around to watch the video and see the development. Now, if you want to playtest as well, you can join the Discord. There will be a link in the description, and we'll do a playtest like every week or so you can always hop in and give the game a test. Now, anyway, that's it for now. The next devlog video should come quicker, as the challenges that I'm going to face should hopefully be more straightforward. Thanks, and see you in the next one. Goodbye.